Hello and welcome back. Yeah, this is episode 3, grading based on Luminance and Nuke. I just wanted to quickly say I was pretty busy during during Christmas time and a little bit before that. Had some family things I had to take care of, and then in the new year, me and my girlfriend moved to a new apartment. So, that's pretty exciting. Right on the new year, everything's happening. But yeah, it's slowing down now. We're starting to put everything in its place. When you move, you gotta find spaces for everything and whatever. So, but yeah. Anyway, so we'll go right into it here. That's my little thumbnail I made. I have two images here of a sandy beach, and they're slightly different. One of them has like bumpy sand, one of them has flat sand, and it's just the beach and whatever. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually add this bumpy sand onto this beach. So basically just swap it out. And I'm just gonna, it's a pretty simple thing to do, but I just want to do it because there's a few things that a few techniques I'd like to just show in this. So anyway, the first thing that I have done here is I hit S on the keyboard. I just set it to HD 1080 because that's what we're working at here. I just imported these and I set the alphas, auto alpha, because without that, you don't have an alpha here. So just set it to auto alpha, it'll give it an alpha. You don't have to use a shuffle or whatever to give it one. Anyway, okay, so these two, they're good like that. What I'm going to do is this one is at 1080, but this one is bigger. So I'm just going to put a reformat on both of them. Like a caps lock on here. Make a reformat. Yeah, it's going to the root format 1080. That's fine. I'll just copy the same one and I'll put it on this. And now they're both the same. So we'll do that. So let's just cut this one out here. What I'm going to do, so I'm going to get a Roto, just O for Roto. I'm just going to cut this out. So let me just pull this down a bit. Yeah, we're just going to go in here. Just roughly cut it out. And just loop around. There you go. Smooth it out a bit. I'm just going to highlight it all and hit Z a few times. Yeah, Z is to feather it. Shift Z will take it down. Same thing with E. If you hit E, it'll feather the entire thing. Shift E, take it away. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna cut this thing out. So let's go back to here. I'm gonna get a multiply. Gonna switch this to RGBA. Connect the mask to the roto. I'm going to set the value to 0. And then I'm just going to invert the mask, so we're using the roto that we just made. And one thing you'll notice right away is we've got this big stick here from that fancy umbrella, or whatever that's called. I don't know the actual name for it, but we're going to want to paint that out. So we can just get a Rota Paint, which is P on the keyboard. And then here, I like to use hotkeys a lot, so you're going to see me doing that, but every time I use it, I will say what I'm doing. There's a clone tool here. I just hit C, you get that. Otherwise you can just go into here and click other things in here, like B I believe is the brush, or it's N, look at that. Anyway, we're gonna clone this. You hold control and you can basically pull out the clone. Otherwise it's just in here and it's not going to do you much good, so you just pull it out. And the one that is still is the one that you're gonna pick from, like the one that it's grabbing from, and the one that's moving is where you're gonna put it. So you're copying from the still and you're putting it to the moving circle. And then at the same, that's holding control, and if you hold shift, you're gonna be able to go bigger and smaller. So that's that. One thing I like to do is set the opacity to like 0.7 or something like that, just so it's not like so hard. Like on something like this, you might want it to be a bit softer. Like I can show you here if I just go in here. It's like a pretty, it might work here, but what I want to do is I just like to have a little bit of an overlap of the texture, so you don't really see like, oh, look at that, it was cloned. And I'm just gonna turn that stuff off. It's for brushes and stuff if you're using like a tablet, but I just turn it off. Okay, anyway, okay, so let's just clone this thing out here. And what you can do too is you can paint over like your cutout edge if you want to, and then say that looks fine for you. I can actually just take the Rota Paint. If you, well, you can like unplug it if you like this, you know, or if you want to like get a node out of something, you can just do Control-Shift-X when it's selected and it'll pop it off. So what we can do is we can just stick this here, and then it'll just cut off that extra bit that we painted up there. This is a still image, so it won't really matter, but something I just want to point out with the Rota Paint is say this was like, you know, 100 frames or whatever. Right now our clone is on frame 1, like all of our clones, they're on frame 1. So if I was to look at this and then like go to frame 2, it would come back. So a thing a lot of people do is they'll just go in here, they'll select every clone. Sometimes they put it in a folder or whatever, but they'll go to lifetime and they'll set it to all frames, and so basically it's gone for every time, you know, it's you know, every frame. But the thing about this is that what this does is it's actually going to recalculate every single clone for every single frame. So it's using CPU power, and if you have like a bigger shot, or like a, you know, if you're working at 4K, or if you have like 1,000 clones in here, it's a lot of wasted resources on your machine and on the farm, depending, you know, how much you're going to render. So a good thing to do is instead of doing all frames, just leave it on the single frame, you know, and then just go over here, and since you're not really, you know, you're just using the still, you're just cleaning up a matte painting or whatever, you're just using a still, just put a frame hold, and then you can just choose the frame that you cloned on, which in our case was 1, and then in this case it's held like forever, and it doesn't have to recalculate it, it just calculates the first frame, and then it'll stay, you know, using that, and it won't use any more resources than it has to. So that's a really easy way to do that. Okay, so anyway, we'll cut that out, and that's good. And then what we're gonna do is let's just put it over and see what it looks like here. Put it over our background. I like to make things neat. Should always work neat, so those other people get your script and they're like, oh, I know what's going on. Otherwise, you know, you get a script and you're like, what in the hell is going on? And then it's really, it's something else to figure out in the pinch. Anyway, so this is what it looks like right now. It doesn't look, I mean, it's alright, I guess, but what we're gonna do is we need to grade the sand to the color that this is, just to kind of fit it into the image. You can see that this one here is kind of, the bumpy one's kind of overexposed, and it's a lot, you know, it's missing, needs some more red tones and stuff like that. So we're just gonna grade that. And this is the main part of the lesson here. I'm just gonna get an unpremult here because we have cut it out. So on the edges, you'll want to grade those properly instead of, you know, just have a weird grade on there. We're gonna put a grade, and we're gonna premult it again, so it goes back. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to stick a transform here temporarily, and I'm just going to use this to basically move it just so I can see some kind of the color of the sand here. If you hold control and click on the whatever this thing's called, the transform handle, you can actually move the center, which is the center over here. I just move it down so I can see, you know, where I'm pulling it. So let's just find, I like this color here, so what I'm gonna do is move the mid-tone, like this is kind of like a mid-tone here of this sand, to the mid-tone of the sand that we want to match it to. So actually there's a better, yeah, let's just do this one right here. Let's just try to match this to this, or this to this. So what I'm gonna do is in the grade, You have the multiply here. We're going to split that open, and then here's something that a lot of people don't really know. So every monitor, some monitors have like whatever it is, like 14 point something million colors, and then the more expensive ones have like 17 something billion colors. And I mean, there's a lot of different, you know, you can calibrate the color differently, and you can use different color spaces and all this stuff. If if some monitors are different in which they are, if you're trying to match a color, the easiest way is to do it by a luminance value. So if you just go in the viewer and you hit R, you get the red channel, you know, G gets the green channel, B gets the blue channel. This is just showing you the luminance of that pixel value for the blue. So if I look here, you know, and I'll hold control, I'll just put a dot there. You can see this pixel or this pixel, we're looking at blue. You can see blue is 0.09, right? Whereas if I go here, it's 0.7. So this is a lot brighter. It just means there's more blue. This is a lot darker, there's a lot less blue. So that tells you in black and white, in grayscale, how much blue there is. Same thing, how much green there is, how much red there is. So you can use this a lot more efficiently than actually using your eyes, because I actually know colorblind artists who actually color correct with these like this, and it's very efficient, and they can actually get the color spot on because all you need is a luminance value. So what we're going to do is we're going to use that. Instead of looking at it in color, we're going to just go in the luminance value, and we're going to match it up. So we're just going to go here, and we're just going to match these kind of colors. So we're going to start in the red, and as you can see, it's really bright. So what you can do is you can even like tone this down if you wanted to, exposure if you wanted to. But for me, I mean, I can see it from here, so it's fine. We're just gonna go to, yeah, so it needs a little more red. So go multiply, and just using the keyboard, just kind of pump it up and down until you find it reasonably matches. So let's just say like that. Then go to green channel and then do the same thing. So it's brighter than the one we're matching it to, so you want it to go darker. And it's not an exact match, it is like an overall like luminance balance is what you're looking for. It's fine. And then blue, let's try that. Roughly like that. And let's go back to green just to make sure, because the luminance does change based on the other colors as well, so you will want to go in here and adjust what you're seeing. Something like that. Maybe a little less of this. Like that. Okay, now let's go back to color and let's check it. Okay, so you can already see if we disable the grade. So we've changed the color and it's pretty much matching. There is some issues with it already, like obviously we haven't changed the black points at all and whatever, but the overall tone is matching quite nicely. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the lift, which is, if you just turn it over, it's black. Whatever is black, it's turned into this color. So we're going to use the transform again. Just going to move this thing out of the way. Now on this image, it's extremely hard to find a black color that is on the sand. The only thing I found is this little piece under the shell. I think that's a shell. But so we're going to use that. So let's just put a black value over here. So we're just going to change this black value into that black value. So by hitting the grade, you can split the lift, and we're going to use the picker and zoom in here. I'm just going to get this, or maybe this, one of those. This one's kind of green, it looks a little weird. I think I'll just go like this. And then you don't want to use this right off the bat. If you go unclick this, just do control and then right click, you can get rid of that little dot if you don't like that. Oh, and then control clicking is making that pixel selection, and if you control shift and click drag, it averages this box. So that's something you can do too. Anyway, so yeah, we selected that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up, if you hit this color, if you control click it, it'll pop off a box. I don't know, can you see that? Yeah, you can. Alright, it'll pop off the box, and we're just going to lower this value here. This is like the intensity of what we did, so I'm just going to lower it a bit. And that was somewhat matches, so maybe a little more. Nothing is fine. Yeah, so we're just going to do that. So there, we're just going to match that black point, which looks okay. And then maybe the gamma might be go a little up because everything seems a little washed out anyway. So just kind of match that. And you don't want it too contrasty, so kind of match that. Right. And then with that, I'm just going to delete the transform because we don't need it anymore. So there you go. And then here we have, so that's looking nice. And then what we're going to do is that hard edge on the roto is kind of ridiculous. So there's another way of just to easily manage your script and like so other people can see what's going on. Like you can do things in the roto node, like you can like click, like if you had like a bunch of other rotos, you can like feather them individually, change the opacity, you can key them and stuff like that. But doing that is extremely confusing to other people who go in there. If they're trying to look, you know, they should only have to look at your node graph and see what's going on. Like, okay, you did a Rotopaint, you stop, you know, you held it, you're cutting something out, you know, you're grading. If there's a bunch of animations in here and a bunch of stuff in there, they have to spend time in the single node and figure out exactly what's going on, and it's very time consuming because it's not easy. You know, a lot of people don't even label their rotos. It's not clean. So instead of going in here, I mean, I know this is just one roto, but as an example, for example's sake, it can get pretty intense. So instead of just going in here and like, you know, adjusting the feather or whatever like that, you know, I'm just gonna go here, put a blur on this, since the multiply that we're using is cutting out by alpha, right? This roto is outputting an alpha, so there's no need to go blur all the channels, even though that they don't exist, right? Just set it to alpha, that's fine. You know, blur this 10, 20 maybe, and then you can have a choice here. You can either pull back the roto a bit if you wanted to, which I might do. I mean, you could add in a road here too, but it might screw up the side or something, so I'm just going to pull back this part a bit because it looks a little far-reaching for a beach, because we're trying to match the water here, right? So see, you don't got waves where there's dried beach, you know what I mean? Back, yeah, see that? You gotta, and then I might even increase the blur more just to kind of blend it in, because you're seeing the original one underneath, which is kind of throwing it off. Yeah, no, something like that. Pull this one back. Sounds a little rough in there. Yeah, there you go. Something like that. Just close it there. And that's it, pretty much. I mean, you know, here's your new sand. Here's the old one. Just going over it. There you go. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, or you know, if you want to suggest me, you know, suggest anything that you want me to do, or you know, anything about that, any technical stuff, any simple stuff, doesn't really matter. I'm trying to cover pretty much everything that I know to help anyone else out. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That was episode 3, grading from Luminance. Yeah, so subscribe, leave a comment, or don't, whatever you want to do, and have a nice day. Alright, I'll see you next episode.